In today's session of CCNA series, I'll discuss about CDP, also known as Cisco Discovery Protocol. It's one of the network management protocol developed by Cisco. CDP is Cisco proprietary protocol, which means it will run only on the Cisco devices. CDP runs on the data link layer of the OSI model. It helps in building network maps by discovering the basic information about the neighboring nodes. A small enterprise network will have multiple switches or routers, and to make our life easier, it is good to have a network map that shows us everything connected to how it is connected to each other, what types of devices we have, to what the VLAN and the IP addresses that we are using. CDP is a Cisco protocol that runs on all Cisco devices that helps us discover other Cisco devices on the network that can be helpful, like when troubleshooting or documenting the network. It achieves this by sharing the CDP messages between the node through their interfaces. CDP sends messages every 60 seconds by default and with a hold timer of 180 seconds. All Cisco devices receive CDP packets, process them, and cache the information in the packet. But Cisco devices will never forward a CDP packet. If any information changes from the last received packet, then the new information is cached and the older information is discarded, even if its time to leave value has not yet expired. So these CDP messages share some useful details about the node, such as device identifier, which includes typically a host name, address list, which includes typically like a network and data link addresses, port identifier, which is nothing but interface details, capabilities list, which is like a type of device, and then platform, which includes model and OS of the device. CDP offers two important features. First one, it shares the information to other nodes. For example, Cisco IP phones use CDP to learn the data and voice VLAN IDs as configured on the switch. It also provides information to the engineer through show commands. These commands give you information about the neighboring devices and share the information on CDP operation. Let's go ahead and configure and verify CDP. Let me take a simple topology where I have three devices, where you have two routers and one switch. Let me log in into the router and show you. As you know, CDP is enabled globally by default, and you can also enable it. It's also enabled on each interface of Cisco IS devices. So globally, you can enable or disable by using command CDP run. So if it is disabled, you can enable it by using CDP run. Since it is already enabled, let's go ahead and disable it. The command to disable CDP is no CDP run. And the command to verify this is show CDP. If you see now, it shows CDP is not enabled. Let's go ahead and enable CDP globally. As you can see now, it is showing enabled. Similarly, you can enable or disable CDP on interface level. So let's hop onto some interface and see what is the command. Let's hop onto the interface FA0/0. Sorry, let me check the interface. Okay, here we have gig interface. So let's disable the CDP between the router and the switch. That is the interface gig 0/0/0. Let me hop onto the router and get into the interface 0/0/0, and then the command to disable it on the interface is no CDP enable. Okay, this will disable the CDP on this interface. We can verify this by uh, using show CDP neighbor. We have to wait for the whole timer to get expire uh, to make sure the CDP messages are not sent on this port. So till it get expires, let's verify some CDP show commands. Okay, the first one, as I showed earlier, is show CDP. Okay, it shares whether a CDP is, I mean, it states whether a CDP is enabled globally and lists the default update and hold timer. So as you see, CDP send, as I said earlier, CDP sends messages every 60 seconds, and if it doesn't send for 180 seconds, then it will drop the neighbor. So you can also override the default with CDP timer and CDP hold time, but it is not, since it is not supported in Packet Tracer, I cannot show you that. So meanwhile, let's see if the hold timer has expired. It's still 101 seconds. Okay, till then let's see another show command, that is show CDP interface. Okay, this command states whether CDP is enabled on each interface or single interface. If the interface is listed and states update and hold timer on those interfaces. As you can see, we have three interfaces, physical interfaces, and it's showing the default timers and all the interfaces. Two interfaces are up, one is down. So those details you can get from show CDP interface. Let's go ahead and verify the neighbor again if it has still 59 seconds. Till then, let's look at another command. Okay, before we go ahead with another command, let me show you the details about the show CDP neighbor. Here you can see it lists one line per neighbor. Each of these lines lists the most important topology information about each neighbor. The neighbor's host name, uh, such as switch 1 and R2, and the local interface of your device on which you are verifying the show output. And it also includes hold time, capability. Capability is nothing but the switch type, whether it's a switch or a router, and the platform, and the port ID of the remote device. Let's see if the neighbor is still there. Still 5 seconds. And here you go. Since we disabled the CDP, it has lost the neighborship. So let's go ahead and re-enable it again. CDP enable. So it will take some time to bring the neighborship up. Meanwhile, let's look at another command, show CDP neighbor detail, which will give you a detailed overview of the neighbor. Okay, since we have only one neighbor, this command lists more detail, as you might have guessed. It lists the full name of the switch model. As you can see, not switch, sorry, this is a router. We have already shut the interface towards switch. So it will show you the platform, it will show you the iOS details and everything. So let's go ahead and see if the neighbor is up. Okay, the neighbor is up. Now we will go ahead and see the show neighbor detail again. Here you can see now it shows router and switch both, and you can see it lists the platform detail. Here the capability is not coded. It will give you the full name. It will list you Cisco iOS software version of that switch. Another command which I can show you is here, if you type show CDP neighbor detail, it will list all the neighbor. You can also list out a specific neighbor and get the details only of that neighbor by using show CDP entry. For example, switch 1 or R2. No, sorry, I have to type in the correct name. So this will list the details only of a particular neighbor. That's it for this session. I hope this was informative for you, and I would like you to share some feedbacks if you have, or if you have some questions.